the front because it can't get past some tree roots and stuff. And I'm gonna have a
All right. We are live. It's being recorded, I guess I should say. This is our work session for Tuesday, April 12th. And I know one of the things we specifically listed we want to talk about was EMS. So, Mr. Majors.
Yep, I'm here just to let you know that at the end of last month, end of March 31st actually, the last day of the month, the bid packets for Green Springs were released and the contract documents were made public. So from that, we received notification that their contract's going to ensue June 1st with a private ambulance company. So we're making preparations to be gone by May 31st. The timeline that I'm putting together, I'm going to be using some labor from the Dave Major's crew with the sheriff. I don't know what you call that. It's prisoner labor. They're going to bring a truck and a crew of guys because we got some pretty heavy stuff. I mean, we've occupied that building for 38 years. So there's a lot of accumulation of different sorts of stuff. And I'm using the 2015 audit, or inventory, not audit, the inventory to go down all the list of everything that we have over there that's county property. So we're gonna take all county property out of there, and the last thing we'll leave with is the truck. Like when we started having these conversations back in 14, they had almost 30 volunteers. And then ever since this kind of things went down, they've got about 3 left that are actually participating. So it's really not gonna be a big shock to the community that everything's gone. And I'm not gonna do like the Baltimore Colts did and leave in the middle of the night. We're gonna actually do, we're gonna give them ample notification. I'm gonna write up a letter and get it to Stacy, and then you guys can endorse that to give the 30 days notice, which isn't required by our contract, but I think it's the right thing to do, and the prosecutor agrees, the right thing to do.
So their bid packet that is out,
Mhm.
it's written to have it a contract going in effect June 1st.
June 1st, yes.
So do you know when they're opening their bids?
Opening their bid May 2nd, according to the documentation. According to the newspaper article, they've already received 5 bids, so I don't think it'll be a problem for them to get a contract. I've spoken to several of the private services around the area and tried to help them best I could with the public record type information, call volume, things like that. So they're well on their way, and we're gonna make way. We're gonna get out of the way. So there's a lot of stuff over there. Some things I'm not even sure about because, I mean, everything that's inventory, we have a sticker on, and that's easy to know whose is what's. But over 35 years, there's been a lot of things purchased with money that they've earned, from room allowances and the things that we give them extra money for. There's a lot of equipment, a lot of supplies, a lot of furniture, desks, computers, beds, chairs, lamps. It's just, it's like moving out of a house, that's been occupied for 30 years by people. So a lot of some of it's gonna go to Bettsville to help them get their new district started and furnish their house that they have. But I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with some of that stuff, and it may end up at my building until we can find some sort of place to put it.
Ken, how does this overall thing affect the taxpayers of Seneca County that are still left in the EMS district?
Over there,
Will this increase, decrease our costs?
it doesn't increase our
or
cost, it
decrease?
increases their cost considerably.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But they've separated them. How does
Yes.
that affect the 95% of the people we still represent?
It's gonna slow down response, probably. Doesn't cost anything. It costs time, and in an emergency situation, time is more important than money.
So the residents of Seneca County, non-Greenspring district, we're gonna have slightly less service than what
He's
we
meaning,
have?
he's meaning the whole rest of the county.
Yeah, that's
They're all
all,
serviced
I'm not
by-
talking, I mean, they elected
Well,
the
I
whole
think
way,
it
I understand,
goes,
I'm looking at the remaining.
Yeah.
That's not gonna impact Bascom, it's not
It's
gonna
not
impact
gonna
the ones that are
impact-
all serviced by
no.
others, by.
The only
Looking
one-
at cost
No.
and
The only one that
response
will-
time.
The only one that will really impact initially, I think, until we figure out how we're gonna cover it, would be the people on the eastern edge, Old Fort East in Pleasant Township. Because currently that is the Green Springs district. As soon as this contract is signed, their district's gonna stop at the Adams Township line. I'm not real sure how we're gonna cover that, until Bettsville gets more solid with their volunteers and their system gets running better. Republic, we've talked about this, Republic still has an issue with manning. They don't have very many members.
Fill me in, did Republic go with the joint district?
No, they
or
did not.
did not? Bettsville went with Hopewell though,
No,
correct?
Bettsville went with Jackson Township and Liberty Township, so they have their own joint ambulance district. And they're still in their infancy, they're still trying to get people joining, and they're well on their way, but they've got a long way to go. So, like I said, this really wasn't it wasn't anything we were gonna see an immediate impact to, but it will, over time, I believe, help them a lot. What it's gonna do to the immediate area around Green Springs, I think, as soon as this private ambulance company gets in there, it'll increase their service right away. I mean, they're gonna have an ambulance. If they follow the contract that I read, they're gonna have some of the best service around this area.
But it's at a dramatically increased cost.
Oh, yeah, about 3.5 times what we cost. If they do, if we could afford that in all of our districts, we'd have a gold plan too, but we can't. I mean, that would be well over $2 million for
We have
what
to
we
weigh
do.
service and cost.
Absolutely, and I think that that's what we've done, and with the community-based system that we've developed, I think that that's exactly what we're doing. We're providing the best service that we can provide for the money that we have. And I'm firm with that belief. Well, what I plan to do, my timeline now is to make preparations to be out of there by May 31st. I'll get a letter to Stacy so that you guys can sign it, just notifying the mayor and Adams Township that we will be history by May 31st. Now, I plan to be out of there before that, but that's our drop dead date. We gotta be gone by then. So I plan to be gone before that, and the last thing that's gonna leave there is the ambulance.
Yeah.
There's a lot of radio equipment, pagers, there's just a bunch of stuff, and I'm gonna provide you a list as soon as I can throw one together. But like I said, that's tough because a lot of it doesn't have our sticker on it. And the stuff that does, easy. The stuff that doesn't, not so easy. So this first time in our history that we've closed the station, so it's a little challenging from the personnel side. Most of my guys that are willing to help are walking around like droopy dog, and the ones that aren't willing to help you don't ever see again. And that's very unfortunate, so.
The ambulance is there, that's obviously the last one we've purchased,
It is
correct?
brand new,
So are you
2014.
switching that out with, or does it need to replace an echo unit, or?
It's
what is
gonna
it?
replace Bettsville's ambulance.
Okay.
And that'll probably be within a few months. I plan to get it in, do a complete and total inventory on it, clean it out good, make sure everything's good to go, and then move it to Bettsville within probably midsummer. And then move Bettsville's squad in for either backup service and sell one of our older backups, which I'm ready to sell one of those. It's a piece of junk. And then our next purchase would be Attica, which will be 2017. And still haven't heard anything about that grant, but hopefully we do. That would be a real great shot in the arm for us.
Ken, it would seem to me that the ultimate for the remainder of the residents of Seneca County is gonna lower our costs. Instead of maintaining 7 ambulances in 7 districts, you now only have to maintain 6.
Right.
So,
Oh,
in
yeah.
essence, the long term should be a slight reduction in our overall cost.
Well, really,
Trying to get into budget here, guys.
right, but really, I think our budget's pretty much strained the way it is, even with 6 or 7 ambulances. One ambulance here or there doesn't really make a hill of beans to our budget. It's not gonna hurt us revenue-wise, but it's not gonna be any cheaper to run 6 as it is 7, really. They're not the same cost. But I see what you're at, I see what you're getting at. We will save the money that we spend on that district, which is between $10,000 and $30,000 a year, depending on how many runs they do and things like that. So yes, it will save money.
Well, we now only have to buy 6 ambulances
Right.
versus 7.
And
So the
everybody's replacement
rotation,
will be quicker, right?
Okay.
We won't maintain an ambulance for 21 years, we'll only maintain it for 18 to 19 years. And then, so yes, that'll please some of those folks. But I guess what I was saying is the time factor is what's gonna hurt. And then that's until we get used to the different lines on the map, you know? Because we're now gonna have to cover areas that we've never covered with other squads before. And that's all. Time is more important to you than money at the time when you're laying there.
And those are the people in Pleasant Township, it's really.
Yes.
Or-
We'll get through it. It's not a big deal. It's just something that we have to prepare for. We haven't had to do that before. You know, so that's all I had. If you guys had any questions for me or comments or direction, I'd appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
Yeah,
Okay.
if anything, I mean, as we pull out of that, and I realize trying to recreate 37 or 38 years of inventory is difficult, but it may help you on now reassessing the inventory and have an accurate accounting for the other facilities, if,
Right.
God forbid, that happens
Oh,
someday.
no,
But-
I agree.
So take a negative and move it to a positive.
Sure. And the emotional impact that's happened here with the volunteers that have given so much for so long is it's not measurable. It's not something you can measure. It's just, you walk in the room, you feel it. And that's unfortunate. But it is what it is, and decisions were made, and voters have spoken, and we're out. So, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, we still have adequate time here in this work session to do, we want to talk about the Board of
Well,
Elections
Yeah,
and stuff.
okay, yeah, if I could, if you don't mind.
You went to the meeting, right?
Yeah, I was at
Okay.
the meeting yesterday afternoon, and basically we have two, let's call it an A issue and a B issue. The A issue is the short-term issue, is with the upcoming presidential election and the added volume of voters and so forth. They feel that there is not adequate space where they currently have to be able to conduct proper voting and so forth. So after some conversation, they're very receptive for the short term. When I say the short term, from now up until the end of the November election, to move into the Fifth Third location. I know that we're looking at remodeling that for the prosecutor and so forth and so on, which I think can almost go on simultaneously. I mean, it's gonna be a little difficult, but, you know, I'm very much advocating that we stay into a county facility so we don't have to start paying rent someplace short term. So they seem to be very receptive to that, and that takes care of the A issue. The B issue is something more long-term in nature. And of course, we have discussed numerous times on the Hope Roy facility, and they are receptive to that. The issue comes is to how is it engineered to make the facility acceptable for their needs, and who pays for that? And as Commissioner Kirschner has consulted with our prosecutor, the responsibility of doing all that lies within the Board of Elections, and they are to make a proposal to us, and then we got 30 days to approve or disapprove disallow the expenditure. First things first, what I've asked them to do is to consult with the ADA people down in Columbus and propose the Hope Roy facility of expanding the Board of Elections. Would that be ADA acceptable? Because I remember a few years ago when the compliance officer was down here, they literally put a level on the sidewalk. And the decline headed towards the river was at such a point that he said that's not ADA acceptable. Now, if that's the case, we cannot change the lay of the land. That's not possible. So then the Hope Roy building would absolutely be out. Quite frankly, it would put prosecutor's office, the Board of Elections, the health department, all in a non-compliant situation.
Which
So
is why there's the grandfather clause, when you already
Yeah,
have the
yeah,
building,
so
it's already
I-
a county-owned building, we're not just buying it now.
I believe that issue, it's a minor issue, and I believe it can be overcome. We're not talking about what they're concerned with is a wheelchair without any hands on the wheels could run ramp into the river. Now, I think that's a little stretch, but we have to, before I would vote, my 1/3 vote would vote for anything is that of making any improvements on the Hope Roy facility or so forth, they need to get signed off from the state that this would be an acceptable location. And then once that's done, they have either a couple different options. They could consult with the Palmer Group, who we have used in many cases to do issues, but the cost has to be borne by them. Okay, and so what they would need to do is get an estimate of the cost, either run it out of their own budget, which they probably don't have the money, or come back to us and say, hey, to engineer this project, it's going to be X, so we would have to approve it or not. That's one option, and I happen to think that's not the best option. The next option would be go to a local contractor and say, okay, this is, I'm kind of giving them options of what they need to do. And go to a local contractor and say, okay, this is what we want to do, and design it, engineer it, which will virtually be at no cost. But then the concern from their standpoint, the Board of Elections, well, would this be ADA acceptable? They may want to do is then they could hire at a substantially reduced cost, take those plans to Columbus and say, would this be ADA acceptable for all issues? Before we start paying any taxpayers' money.
Well, I would think whoever's gonna design it, whether that's
Yeah.
anybody just gonna do the design or who would design and build, they're going to do a public building space ADA compliance. They know the codes and that stuff required, unless there's something special that they need. I mean, they're gonna have the basics and do it that way.
Yeah, they just,
They understand the design of the bathrooms, they can understand, any of that kind of stuff, they will tell you.
but really the ball is in their court. Short-term A has been resolved. They have a facility, if it's approved by my fellow commissioners here, that they could occupy the Fifth Third building until after the November elections. How we're gonna deal with remodeling it, we don't even have cost ourselves to help remodel it.
When you say occupy the Fifth Third building, are you talking about the day of the election? Are you talking about from September through November?
I basically think well, that's for them to decide, but I think they're talking about over a period of months. Kind of from now, as I see it, from now till after November.
As long as they're willing to pardon our dust, if there's stuff going on, kind of a thing, while there's some minor stuff happening, and I don't know, it's gonna slow that project down, but if it addresses their need to get through the presidential election, I'm okay with it. I hate to slow down the project, but as long as there's something they can be working on with that project, possibly. We're not ready to put that out to bid yet, but we're getting close on the specs for it. So we're gonna have to have that in those specs as well, is that, you're gonna have to work around whatever, or,
I personally think it's the best way to utilize taxpayers' money, is
Yeah.
we don't have to
It's within our
rent
budget.
something on the outside. So there's a lot of issues, but in my mind, the ball is in Board of Elections court. We have overcome issue A, issue B. They have various options that ultimately we're gonna have to pay for, but by the Ohio Revised Code, we don't have to, I mean,
they should come to us with what they want.
yeah, I mean,
So-
I have no idea. I got one of the kicks is, one of the statements was, well, I'm an attorney, I'm not an engineer. Well, you know what? I'm a manufacturer. Mr. Kirschner is a banker.
Yeah.
What do any of us know about engineering? And especially ADA acceptable, accessible, have no knowledge of it.
For concern A, the space, can we ask them to get to us, the Board of Elections, some information so that we know, as these bid specs are being prepared for that space, can they commit to us what they want? They can say, hey, we need it by July 1, we need space for machines being calibrated, we need space for somebody to operate out of, whatever they're gonna, how they need to use that space. An outline, at least somewhat, that by July 1, we'd be doing this there, by August, we'd be doing this. Early voting is when they need it, I don't know.
Well, I think that they need to come to this meeting, to a meeting. and present to us what it is they'd like to do. There was some misconception on the part of the Board of Elections that it was our responsibility to do a number of things that we're not responsible for. 3501.1 Ohio Revised Code says that, as we talked about, it is the responsibility of the Board of Elections very clearly to make a recommendation. And our only responsibility is to look at a potential lease and either approve or reject it within 30 days. So, until we know what they want, I don't know how we can make any decisions. There's been discussions about maybe using Fifth Third. There's been discussions about, they actually did a tour of a number of other facilities on Saturday. I don't know what the status of that is. They've had rejected previously the Hope Royce building. But I want to make it very clear for a matter of record that the current site that they have is 880 square feet. The basement is somewhere about 1,300 square feet, is that right? So call it 3,200 square feet, or call it 2,200 square feet. The Hope Royce building on the first floor is 3,080 square feet, and the basement area that they would be able to utilize is somewhere about 1,000 square feet. So it's somewhere in excess of 4,000 square feet as opposed to 2,100 square feet, approximately twice the size. Now, the county has spent significant money in making the area where the voting machines are and the downstairs area appropriate to accept those machines. If we had to move those machines, we would incur a lot of expense in retooling, if you will, another room for that activity. So my thought would be to keep the machines where they're at, allow them to use which is 1,300 square feet, allow them to use 3,080 square feet, which puts us in excess of well over 4,000 square feet, for about 4,400 square feet, as opposed to the current 2,100 square feet. I don't know how this could not be considered adequate, but it's possible. Again, the only way we know it is for them to come to us and make this request. All this stuff is conjecture at this point, in my opinion, until they come and say specifically what they want.
So hopefully they can come to one of our near future meetings here and outline when, how they would need the space that gets them through presidential election, and then outlines to us if they're ready to have, someone look at the Hope Royce space, if that was going to be considered. We want to know if they're looking at that or they're not looking at that, right? I mean, it's in their court to determine,
right.
And, okay. Yeah, and the way I looked at it is, on the first floor with, where operations, the daily stuff occurs, from 880 square feet is what they have in their existing space, and in the Hope Royce space, it's 3,080 square feet. So that's a 2,200 square foot, just for an operational, some storage, but space is a drastic increase, and then again, they could continue to maintain the room that's been wired for the machines and that stuff downstairs, and not have to move those. It is the same building. So that's just a.
It is my understanding after attending the meeting yesterday that the Hope Royce is acceptable to them. But again, I just want to re-emphasize, we don't want to get a cart ahead of the horse here. Will it be signed off or approved by Columbus for ADA accessibility before a dime of taxpayers' money is
The problem
spent?
with that, I mean, we do have to make sure it's handicap accessible. But we're gonna get into the same situation with any space that they may opt to try to use. And the difference is that we have to pay rent on any other space, whereas we own this building. So the problem is gonna be similar wherever we go. The question is, do we use a building that we already own, or do we allow additional rent expense at a privately owned building?
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. So the ball's in their court. They have to come back to us. I understand completely what you're saying, is give us a timeline for provision A and B. Was it acceptable, and how do you want to go about it? You want to have it engineered, using the Palmer Group, and we're certainly glad to give them that number and how to deal with that, and then move forward. The next thing I'd like to talk about, just briefly, the Board of Elections, if I may, got a few minutes here. I kept, oh, sinuses are killing me today. We keep hearing rumblings that the state is gonna require the counties to upgrade its voting machines and make a considerable expense. And I've heard rumors in the neighborhood of about $750,000 by 2018. I happened to have an opportunity here last week to attend a function that John Houston, which is the Secretary of State, who governs all of these potential issues that of the Board of Elections and so forth. And I asked him point blank, what was the direction from the state on it, and is these rumors that I'm hearing true? And I was rather surprised that they're not rumors, it's reality. By 2018, the counties are going to be required to make a sizable expenditure to update the voting machines and so forth. It is my strong and I know there is going to be some funds from the state, even though I didn't get real encouraging news from them, and it probably is coming from Kasich and running for election. They don't want to start losing votes there. But I think it would be a very prudent decision by this board to start allocating a fund over the next couple of years to put a couple, $200,000-300,000 in that fund. Because I would hate to see, even though I won't be a commissioner in 2018, I would hate to see those that are commissioners all of a sudden, boom, you get that thrown on your lap and say you gotta come up with $750,000. That's gonna be a tough pill to swallow. So I think we need to start preparing for it now. At least to get, we could put $100,000 a year for the next 2-3 years. And hopefully then the state will come, or the feds will come and throw some money in it to help ease the burden. But the reality of the whole thing is, it's true, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And 2018 is the date.
Right.
So, just FYI, not good news.
Okay, can we invite the Board of Election members to a meeting? You know, the dates that I have are either the 19th, which is next week, I go to Thompson Township, or one of the first 2 meetings in May, the 3rd or the 10th.
Isn't the 19th the one we're having in Jackson Township?
That's our evening meeting, yes.
Yeah, in all due respect for the Board of Elections, I wouldn't ask them to come that far, but I would recommend that the meeting after that we have here.
All right, what works for them?
I would.
We meet weekly, just so we have one evening one.
I wouldn't want them to come the 28th at the Calvert meeting.
No, I wouldn't want to do it at the council meeting if we don't have to.
I don't know, it may be interesting to hear the interaction between the county and
Interaction is a good word, Freddie.
All right.
I will concede to whatever the fellow commissioners want to do.
All right, that's, we got 1 minute. We'll wrap up the work session. No further stuff for that?
Okay.
Okay. And tape's still rolling, right? All right. I'll formally call this meeting of the Seneca County Board of Commissioners for Tuesday, April 12th to order. Please join us for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sure. Please join me in a short prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you for the sunshine. It's back. We knew it was there somewhere. Help us make the decisions that are in the best interest of the citizens of Seneca County. Bless all those who are present here today. We ask this through your Son, our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
We'll have the roll call.
Commissioner Stacy?
Here.
Commissioner Zoller?
Here.
Commissioner Kushner?
Yes, here.
On the signing of the journal, and I'll accept the motion to approve the DVD recording from the previous board session of Tuesday, April 5th, and the written index of that meeting.
Make a motion we approve it as outlined.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approved. Thank you. adjustments to the printed agenda. We've got one, and that will be introduction, and I'll offer to briefly make remarks of our new regional planning director. Anybody else have anything else to add?
We got an update on the engineering contract for the Fifth Third building. I want to add the museum, the open house and ribbon cutting.
Okay. And I'll have a OSU extension brief update from recent meetings. All right, anything else?
Might get rid of my allergies. Do we vote on that?
All right, well, let's begin. I'd like to introduce our new Regional Planning Executive Director, it's Charlene Watkins. Charlene has started officially yesterday. It was formally, the recommendation to hire Charlene was by the search committee, exec committee, to the Regional Planning Board on Wednesday evening, and she was approved. I think she started cleaning on Friday and formally started yesterday.
Yep. First day was great. So a lot of technology issues. We're going through the office, talking about retention right now, files, looking at things in there, just getting stuff around. It's not really exciting right now. So if you want to stop down today, I'm around from 11:30 to 2. I'm in a training. But otherwise, I'm around and there's homemade coffee cakes, so stop down and have some.
All right.
My lot split committee loved that this morning. So that was the first great meeting I was in. Otherwise, we're just kind of chugging along. First day's good. I'm looking forward to working with everybody. We do not have official office hours yet. We'll get those out after Wednesday once our phone systems are up and running properly. Okay. So it's nice to meet everybody. I'm just popping in and I'm popping out.
Always encourage you when you show up the second day. That's a good start.
with homemade coffee cake, right? Yeah. So, yeah.
You could be our star employee in the county. We never get that from the judges, never.
Do not think
Sorry,
this is
guys.
regular happening. It will not be. So. But it's there if anybody's hungry. Stop on down. I'll see everybody later. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Charlene. Okay, the museum.
Talked with Mark and Tanya, and they don't think that the work will be completed by May. They think it'll be more June.
That's because with the additional we added,
Yeah.
the change orders we put in.
So
Okay.
we're gonna try and get the open house set up for around June.
Okay. That'd be good. All right. And we have a museum task force meeting Thursday at 1. Over there.
Yes.
Okay,
Over there.
at the museum.
Yep.
So,
Question, talking about meetings, are we still on for the interview of the Batch Holder Group on
Next.
today at 1 o'clock? One
Yeah.
or 1:30?
1 o'clock.
1, okay, thank you.
Okay. OSU extension update, I'll do that before I forget, I guess it could have been new or old. They had sent around a sheet last week of the county highlights of things that were done by OSU extension here in Seneca County. And so this talked about the youth programs, the 4-H program, the strengthening family and community stuff that they've had going on. As everyone's aware, we have been without, other than an office help out there, Aaron is there, but without an agent in a post since July, and have been going through the rounds to get that position filled, and it was to be a 4-H educator position. And we had successful interviews late yesterday, that group. I was part of that, so don't have anything to announce yet because that's gotta come through the university. But there was a candidate identified, and hopefully we'll have an announcement soon on that position being filled. And I know, Mike, you attended the Farm Bureau
Yes.
legislative day that was multi-counties over in Sandusky County, actually in Woodville. And they asked you about the ag extension agent, I think they brought that up. And I wasn't able, last minute wasn't able to go to that, and we were both gonna be there. But that is still something being considered and looked at, and Kathy Boer, who serves as our acting interim chair until we have an agent on board and gone through all the training needed to become our county chair, has indicated that they would like to get back on doing a needs assessment, which is the track they were on. Had to get a 4-H position filled, and then back with another opening again. In that change, they slowed up that process, knowing they need to take care of one at a time, but they will be back to looking at the needs, getting a needs assessment completed across the county on what the agricultural community feels we need in an ag agent. It's, not just to be viewed as it was in the past, but what needs, et cetera, could be met and fulfilled with that. And obviously that will require some funding coming from us for a second agent for portion of that funding. So that's just an update since that recently was asked about and where that whole process is. So I guess I can send that, you guys can see that form. Contract for the engineering.
Fifth Third.
Fifth Third building.
Tanya reached out to Palmer yesterday, and the original contract we did with them for the Fifth Third was just for preliminary, since we had no idea what it was going to cost and no idea if we were going to even actually want to do it. So this bid specs were not included. So he's sending me an updated contract, which I'll have to get Derek first, but he's going to do 7% would be the engineering fees. I don't need approval today. I just wanted to update you on that. So once I get it from him, I'll send it to Derek and we can approve it when it gets. Shouldn't be long, but I wanted to touch base with him after our conversation today to kind of let him know, by the way, this may put a hold on it, see what his thoughts are on what we could work around. So
typically, engineering costs on a project with Palmer is about 7% of what the total cost is. Is that kind
Yeah.
of customary?
Stacy beat him down.
tips from Mike.
Okay, good.
So that'll be, hopefully we'll have that by next week.
All right, I think that got everything mentioned, other than, okay, so we don't forget to mention at the end, next week is our quarterly evening meeting, and we're in Jackson Township at 7 p.m., so we are not here on Tuesday morning at 10. We'll be over there at 7.
Do you have the address?
I'm gonna have to ride with somebody, because I've been there once, but it's,
Yeah,
It's
Google
way in
Maps
the
doesn't
boonies.
like it.
pardon?
Google Maps doesn't like it.
Stacy's got a nice county map on her wall in there. Check that out. All right, anything else for old business? Okay. We can proceed with new business.
Okay, I have bill vouchers 14543. I have a resolution authorizing an appropriation adjustment for the ditch maintenance fund, moving $4,000 from equipment to the DRETAC line. I have a supplement to the permanent appropriations for the general fund. This is putting $25,500.41 into the airport line contract services. This is for the engineering services related to the airport layout plan, wildlife hazardous assessment plan, tree service, and application. I have a resolution authorizing an appropriation adjustment for ditch maintenance, also they're moving $10,000 from equipment to their ditch maintenance other line. I have a resolution setting time, date, and place to receive sealed bids for the 2016 Seneca County Chip Seal Program. That will be set for Tuesday, May 3rd at 10:15 here in our office. I have a resolution setting time, date, and place to receive sealed bids for request for qualifications for engineering and environmental services on the Wolf Creek Ditch Petition Drainage Improvement Project. This will be for Tuesday, May 10th, 2016 at 10:30 a.m. here in our office. And I think the ads will be this Sunday and next Sunday.
Ta-da, that's good.
Yeah, where's your card?
Yeah, you're. I have a resolution rescinding the board's orders of March 31st, on 92 page 151. This is the amendment to the real estate purchase agreement for the Tice property. Tice is indicating that the property is no longer hers and not accepting the extension, that we need to do an agreement with the gentleman that purchased the house.
Jim Gale.
So Jim has the contract that Rhonda had prepared, our assistant prosecutor prepared, and also he had a letter done, which includes Tice's signature on that acknowledges it. So we just have to rescind that because we did already authorize it pending prosecutor approval. I think
Okay.
everything's working fine.
Yeah, my question there is, we don't want to, I know I received a call from the new owner that purchased a Tice property, it's gonna move it. We don't wanna mandate any additional things on him than what we already did with the Tice property. And where I'm coming from is the backfill of the basement. If the backfill of the basement that our agreement with the county and Mrs. Tice was that she would remove the basement, then absolutely the new owner has to abide by the same thing. But if the past agreement was that she could fill the basement in, just knock the block in the basement and go ahead and put dirt over it, then we need to do the same thing as we don't need to amend, make it more difficult for the new owner than what it was for the last one.
And I haven't heard
What
from
I
him.
understand is the agreement now with what we're trying to get across, Roland, is that we would have to remove everything from the basement. Where,
And that's what we
again,
were gonna have to do.
if that's what we're gonna have to do in the past, then absolutely, he is totally in agreement. The next thing is to remove the street and the curbs. Was that part of the Tice deal in the past, or was that part of the money that we had allocated to renovate the land?
It would have been included in what we would have had to done to renovate it, but that could.
Yeah,
I mean, I think that
that's what my question is we can't mandate from him anything more than we mandated from Tice.
Yeah.
Because the net to us is we had there was a $30,000 grant for us to demolish the house and take out the curbs and tear up the street. I don't think we can mandate him to do that. Our cost is gonna be less today because we don't have to tear the house down. He's moving the house.
Was that what was in the contract?
I don't know, that's all I'm saying is, his question was, you're requiring more of me than what you required of Mrs. Tice. And I don't think that's being, I don't think that's.
Well, I guess a fair
being
statement is that we weren't gonna require Tice to tear it down. The county was gonna have to pay for that and do
Absolutely.
that.
The net savings to the county is, we are gonna spend less money now, because we don't tear the house down.
Right.
He's taking care of that.
Yeah.
But if there's other things that had to be done,
And we're gonna have to take out those trees, obviously the curves, we were gonna have to do that.
well, I don't think
it's-
we can mandate, as what I understand, the new contract that the prosecutor is now mandating that he takes care of that.
Okay.
I don't think,
I'll have to look at
I
that.
don't think that's being fair.
Yeah.
So
And
if
that
the
was
co-
something.
The net savings to the
prosecutor-
county is, we're not gonna have to spend 30,000 now, we may get it done for 5 or 10.
But we had grant to tear that down, and we're gonna not get.
Well, we get 30,000,
We still get a
around 30,000 from the FAA to put towards a project.
Okay.
I don't know what it actually would have cost to tear down the house.
Right.
So that'll be a savings in itself, but yeah, we would have still had to pay to take the trees down
Yeah.
and stuff, but the details is what Brad and Rhonda had worked out, so.
But if the county would have had to tear the house down,
Correct.
they would have had to remove the basement and fill it in.
I
We
think that was
would've.
part of the $30,000 grant.
That's not Mrs. Tice.
Correct,
Okay.
Yeah, because she wasn't tearing.
but I think it was
So
Fred's
we're asking the
intent.
guy to remove the house and also fill the basement in.
Yes, that was kind of a stipulation Fred had worked in to save county a little bit of money.
Well,
and
he's
still
willing to
save
fill the
house.
basement in,
Yes.
as the other houses that we tore down, he said what they would do is they would just throw the block in the basement and then throw dirt over top of it. Well, from what I understand is what the agreement the prosecutor has written now, is he has to physically remove the basement now, which is at an added expense, and I don't think that's right. If we didn't require the previous property owners to remove the basement, just throw the block in and throw dirt on top of it, I don't think we need to require the new owner to do that.
I'll check with Tanya and our previous contract, but if we were having to do it this time, we would have had to do it last time.
Yeah.
So-
Again, the net to the county is we're not gonna have to spend 30,000 of taxpayers' money. We're gonna get it done much less, because we don't have to tear the house down, that's being vacated. And the added caveat here is if the house was torn down, we lose the tax base. As it is now, the house is being moved, the county's still gonna receive real estate. So it's a net benefit to the county. I don't wanna penalize the new owner that's gonna take the responsibility on moving the house at a tremendous expense. I don't wanna penalize him. So you understand where I'm coming from. I want it to be a win-win. Win for the county, we're gonna spend less money. Win for the owner, that we're not requiring him to do any more than what we did with the Tice property. I just think that's right.
And again, it wasn't the former owner that was gonna have to do that, it was us.
Yeah, yes, yes.
Right. Same kind of stuff, okay.
So if we can work with, and the new owner is very receptive. We just want to be fair with him.
I
That's it.
hadn't heard from him after I sent him the contract. I hadn't heard from him.
Well,
so-
I did, yeah, that's what he called me, and he had some concerns, again, I'm just repeating myself, that we're requiring him to do more than what was required from Mrs. Tice. And the issue is the basement and the sidewalk and the street.
She wouldn't have had to done it regardless.
Well,
It's the county would have had to done it.
Yeah.
You made
We're
that deal to
requiring
save
more
us.
of him than what we ever did of her.
Well, that was the idea, right?
Yeah.
To
No,
save the county some money on that.
And we're gonna save the county money because we don't have to tear the house down.
Okay, all right. We'll get it to work.
Again, he's not hostile by any means. He just,
Right.
what's fair is fair.
But if I have to take the block out, am I going to have to call somebody in to take the block out for him to fill in the basement? If I'm required to do that before I can push dirt in, that's just
other
what I'm
houses-
kind of confused.
Yeah, the other houses, what I'm told, is they just pushed the block in and threw dirt on top of it. I wanted him, he
We'll
said
verify.
one for sure, he knew that that's what they did. I said, can you verify that the other ones? Whatever the precedence is, I believe we have to continue with that.
Okay, we'll pull the contracts on the old ones.
Right, that was all of our resolutions, correct?
Yes, that's it.
Stacy, do you wanna read that other one that I just handed you?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I have a resolution authorizing Stacy Wilson as county administrator to sign the Columbia Gas contract on behalf of CCAO. There was no changes, it's just the new contracts that they bid out for our aggregation for our gas prices.
Aggravation or aggregation?
Yes. That's all I had.
All right, do I have a motion and,
So moved.
Seconded.
okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the resolutions and all as presented. Any questions, comments, concerns on any of the above? Okay. Call roll, please.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Yes.
Commissioner Zoller?
Yes.
Commissioner Stacy?
Yes. All approved, thank you. All right, gives us an opportunity for citizens' comments. At this time, do we have any, would you like to make comments? Mr. Goshi?
I got a question in reference to the Board of Elections. As I remember, in behind that building, there was a parking area. Would that have been handicap accessible from back there? You know,
The old Sal's
there is a
building.
parking area there, but I,
There's a hollow area, if you will, go
Yeah.
down there. It's hard to say. I would doubt it because of the pitch. There's such a deep pitch there of everything. I'm sure that there's a flat entrance, but there's also a flat entrance on Washington Street.
yeah,
But it depends on the pitch of the area around it, not only the pitch of that particular entrance.
There's a step back of the pit. There's a step. It's
There is a
not-
step?
Yep, there's,
Okay.
it's-
what's that now?
Yeah, there is a step back in the
Well, okay,
pit.
couldn't
We
that
call
be
it the
eliminated?
pit.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be possible to be eliminated? That's what I'm saying. I didn't, I remember going in there years ago, but I didn't remember.
Yeah, I
How
think
much
down
was
there
it?
would probably be easier to make the front of the building handicap accessible than it would back there, because you don't have nearly the room to maneuver for ramps and those kind of things. And I mean, if I was somebody that had a difficult time getting around, I sure wouldn't want to go into a parking lot that looked like this.
Yeah, but you don't go into a parking lot walking if you're
No, but
handicapped.
once you get out of your car,
driver.
you're on an angle wherever you're at.
Well, I thought that bottom was pretty flat though.
Yeah, but there's,
Not for
it's a
long.
pit.
Yeah, I know.
You're
but
down to the hole.
The pitch goes down to a flat area. That's what I was thinking. Okay,
And we also have to remember too, that the city has verbally suggested that they would make handicap accessible parking right in front, put handicap stickers, and then, I don't know what they call it, hollow out the curb so you can get wheelchairs over. They have offered to do that at their expense in an effort to keep the Board of Elections downtown. Now, I don't know if that offer still is there, I would assume it is, but
That was another thing I questioned too, whether there couldn't be a couple spots in the front.
yes.
You know,
And
or
they
near
are
the
they're
front at least.
receptive to that.
Yeah, then if you go in the front, if you go to the south of it, you're going downhill then going in, right? Didn't you say it was an incline?
Yeah.
I see, well, then they're coming back out, they're gonna have to go uphill, so you're gonna find some fault.
Very minor. When the gentleman laid the bubble, what they call the level on
Yeah.
the street, the bubble was still within the,
Yeah,
whatever, the two lines, but it was just slightly,
It wasn't
I
half,
think it
it
was a little,
wasn't a half a bubble off plum.
yeah, whatever they call
Beat
it.
me to it.
I think the word for that is asinine. That's all.
Are there any other citizens' comments at this time? Okay, well, we are going to recess because we have a CHIP public hearing that will, a second public hearing that will occur at 10:30. And we can't start it till 10:30, and Mr. Corley's not here, and he's going to
Holly,
do
I'd like to
that.
make a comment.
Oh, you guys, no, go ahead.
Yeah, you know, we're talking about the Board of Elections and the potential mandate that's coming up and so forth. I would strongly recommend that this board, we send a letter to CCAO and to Senator Burke and Representative Reineke, asking for help if that, when that mandate comes through.
And the machines.
The machines and so forth, that we have, they put something in legislation in there to help the counties absorb some of the cost. And I think now's the time to do it.
And CCAO has, I don't know actively what they've done, but that would be, you know, good to do. They, I know they've had that on their radar, that that's going to impact counties because, you know, in the scheme of things, we're from really small to really large, we're small. We're not a really small county, but we're not, you know, the impact on even those smaller than us would be even greater if that's shared equally, and I don't know how that expense would be equal because there's a drastic difference of number of voters in all those counties as well, so, but, good point.
Yeah, so I mean, the CCAO, Representative Reineke, Senator Burke, to get a letter signed by us three commissioners to requesting legislation be put in place to help the counties through this process.
Well, statewide, if it's $750 per county, 88 counties, it's gonna be more than $65 million.
Yeah.
I think what really precipitated this whole thing was the Chads down in Florida a couple of elections ago, that they had to revise what we're doing. Yahoo's in Florida. You can quote me on that.
All right, we will take a brief recess here until we can have our public hearing at 10:30. All right.